Do you know how many times I've tried to record this video? I have tried so many times to record this premiere episode. Now, there's a portion of me that I am a reformed perfectionist, and that can play a part. But I think the other reason I've been recording it over and over again, well, it's actually two reasons. One, because I really want to connect with all of you and share the importance of this new project. I really want y'all to really feel my heart as I go through this with you. Because we're going to go on a journey, and it's going to be a real interesting journey. It's going to be full of fun, laughter. There may be some tears shed, but there will never be any lies told here. But in this quest to record this video, I also see the enemy trying to make it difficult for me. And I say that because as I'm recording, even the last take, everything just went black. And I'm like, really? Is this what we're going to do now? So, of course, you know your girl. She's going to pray it up, cover the recording, and start over again because I'm not going to give this up. I took a very big step in my life because of the importance of this new project. My name is Crystal, and this is my new podcast. If this is your first time here, I am Crystal from Crystal Beyond Labels, and I know you're like, Crystal Beyond Labels, what does that mean? Well, I have lived a very interesting life. A very, very interesting life that took me down so many different paths. And a lot of it was because I allowed the labels of this world, the labels of life, the labels that other people put on me, the labels I put on myself to send me in all kinds of directions that I definitely shouldn't have been on. And through that journey of Crystal Beyond Labels, I started building communities in different places. Here on YouTube, definitely some on Rumble, over on TikTok. I started building communities. And I've always had this desire, definitely God implanted, to help people. So when you take the desire to help people and then the gift of gab, which my daddy always says I get from him, and then you put on God's lens, that's where this new project comes from. And I know you're like, what do you mean God's lens? Well, as I said before, I've been through a lot of stuff. I've been down a lot of roads. I've dealt with a lot of situations, probably a lot I shouldn't have been in. And I think a lot of it is because I let everything in the world, all of the different things that we see, really paint the life that I should have had or I thought I should have had instead of keeping it simple and focusing on God. And I grew up in a Christian home. So for some people, you would think, well, duh, that should have been easy for you. You grew up in a Christian home. Have you ever met a PK? Have you ever met a PK? For those who don't know what that means, preacher's kid. Usually that's a little bit difficult. And I did not grow up as a preacher's kid, but I did grow up as an elder's granddaughter. And that definitely kind of falls into the same realm. It's not that easy. And you know, the world has a great way of painting a picture for you of what life should be. And please understand, this starts when you're a kid. It starts when you're a kid. I'm so serious. Because you read the storybooks that they put together for you. You know, little girls, you get the fairy tales, the cute little fairy tales, you know, the fairy tales where someone was mean to her, life was difficult. She felt like she was the maid. Her stepmother didn't like her, something. And then along comes a dreamy, wonderful prince, and he will come and whisk her away. And then all of a sudden, what happens? They get married, they live happily ever after. The end. Isn't that beautiful? Wouldn't it be nice if life was like that? But they don't stop. They do not stop for the storybooks because They set up all TV shows and movies to kind of fit that narrative. Even down to some of these reality shows. They really curtail these things to give that ideology. So, as a woman, you spend your entire life looking for that storybook ending, and you don't even understand why you do that. You go through life and you're like, why am I not getting this? And you're frustrated because, again, that was a storybook, that was a script. But in real life, life really be lifing. It really does. And that storybook ending does not happen all the time, but culture makes you feel like you should. And that is a word that you will hear quite often in this show because I think a lot of us don't realize that became the idol that we all live under, culture. And I know you're like, what do you mean by that, Crystal? Think about it. Culture decides how we dress, who we date, where we live, how our homes look, how we spend our money, who we vote for. That's just a small bit of what culture kind of controls in your life. But a lot of times what we don't see is the pitfalls that comes along with following what culture tells you you're supposed to do. And I think a lot of us don't even realize what it's done in our lives. I have realized because, again, I went through so many pitfalls, so many different things. It was hard, but I came out on top. And I came out on top because eventually I found out surrendering is all you need to do. Surrendering to who? Surrendering to God. So now, instead of me looking at the world for what I think it should be, I look through God's lens and see what it actually is. And I've learned a lot of the things that I went through, all the tests that I went through, it wasn't for me. My testimony was never for me. It was for everyone else. And that's what you have to learn. Your testimony is for everyone else. Because understand, the things that you go through, they will help somebody else. They will be that light, that beacon of light that people are looking for. Am I ever going to get through this? Am I ever going to get out of this dark place? You will. And usually you'll see that in somebody else who's made it through. Now, I was so passionate about this show because for me, like I said, I've been on that TikTok community. And in that community, I get to meet a lot of different people along the way. And I hear so many things. I hear people talking about the anxiety that they feel, panic attacks that they have, depression, confusion, being in a dark place, having some very scary ideations. And I realized that all of that comes from a place that I was able to get out of. And that is why I wanted to speak to each and every one of you. That is why God tapped me on my shoulder and said, okay, Crystal, this is your new project. This is where I want you to be. And I know some of you are new to this channel, so you don't know, and you can go back and look at some of the old videos. But I had a conversation with God probably 3 years ago. And that was because I was at a place where I was straddling the fence and I was on Death's bed. Death was knocking on my door. And it was a very scary moment. And I remember having a conversation and I said, God, if you allow me to get a second chance at life, I'm going to do it different. No more people pleasing. It's going to be all about pleasing you. Whatever you want me to say, whatever you want me to do, and wherever you want me to go, I will do that. And that is how I got here. He said, okay, cool. This is what I want you to do. I want you to talk to the people. I want you to speak to them because a lot of them are going through a lot of the things that you went through. And you're going to be able to connect with them and have those conversations because they're looking for answers. They're walking around with unforgiveness and hurt and pain. They're walking through this world in darkness, feeling like there's no hope. And you have the answer. So go out there and share it with them. Now understand, like I said, this show we're gonna laugh, we're gonna cry, we're gonna have ups, we're gonna have downs. You can consider me your new best friend because I'm gonna get into all of it with you. And I'm not gonna just stick into the realm of pop culture, which I can. We're not just gonna talk about current events, which I can. We're not just gonna talk about what the Bible says. I love to do that. We're gonna talk about real life in its entirety. Because it's great to see what you see out there in the world, but what is going on with your real life? What are the things that you're dealing with every day? And learning how, like Lauryn Hill said, it all could be so simple, but we rather make it hard. That's what we do. We make life a lot harder. Now I remember my mom told me when I was a young girl, she's like, you have to learn that learn from other people. It's better to learn from other people's lessons instead of living through it, because then you can avoid a lot of those pitfalls. Now, Crystal was that girl. I was so far from that girl. I was the girl that would say, I'm going to find out for myself. I'm going to go through the experience. I'm going to find out for myself. Well, the great thing about this show is I'm going to help you not have to find out for yourself. You're going to learn from the lessons that I've been through. You're going to learn from the lessons from any of the guests that I have on the show. You're going to learn lessons from the experts that come on and speak, because I want to make sure that you have the tools to get through life. I want to make sure that you're not trapped up in the hamster wheel of culture that takes you down a very dark fall that sometimes is hard to get out of. I know you're like, Crystal, what do you mean? When you find yourself involved in a relationship because society says, well, he's great on paper. He has everything that society says is great, but you end up in the most toxic relationship that you find yourself having to learn who you are all over again. Society will tell you that you should dress a certain way and look a certain way. But again, does society know what is right and what is wrong for you? No, only God knows that. So let me just give you some snippets of some of the things. And I'm not saying it's going to be all these things, but these are some of the snippets that we'll talk about. Because we're going to talk about how culture will have you out in these streets dressed in all kinds of ways. And of course, this is a very extreme example, but let's be real. The things that I see people wearing nowadays, it doesn't make sense to me. And I think back to my grandparents, God rest their souls. When I was younger, I was like, I wonder how they look at us. Like, oh, are these wild children? Where did they come from? And I'm like, I don't think they actually thought that. I think if they saw people today, they would have no words. Because I am 44 and this world is so crazy. I'm like, where do I even live? I don't even know where I live anymore. Again, if it wasn't for God, I think I might have felt like somehow of how some of you feel out there. Let's just be real. But because God warned us about this, I'm a little bit more censored. But the things that I see, and it's, you would think it would be just for the younger generation, those that are like late teens, 20s, because they're still trying to find themselves. No, I see people a whole 45, a whole 50, 60, trying to do some of these crazy trends that you see the younger generation doing. Why? Aren't you supposed to have wisdom? So we're going to talk about things like that. We're also going to talk about society and our celebrities. Give me 1 second because I don't want my thing to die off here. But we're going to talk about how society, how celebrities have led society, but the way God is moving, things are coming to light. What is done in the dark will come into light. And so there's a lot of things we're watching celebrities go through so many different things right now. We're seeing court cases that are coming up where, again, you look through the purview of how life should be. So you think celebrities got it all, they got their lives together, they look picture perfect. But again, when you take off that and you put on God's lens, you start to see the unraveling of it. And I feel like God is allowing that to happen today in its entirety, right? You see it over here, these type of cases. I'm going to share my opinion with the whole don't believe all women, because I really don't believe all women. And there's a reason for that. And I'm going to get into why I don't believe all women. Now, again, men ain't innocent either. And I'll talk about that too. But it's very important that we really have these type of discussions because, again, because we move in the lens of the world instead of the lens that God gave us, like looking through God's lens, there are situations that happen that has to be talked about. We're going to talk about how, again, like I told you about the storybooks and the movies, they help shape your opinion about things. Like how this movie has people really looking at spirituality in a different realm. And that has to be talked about. And because this is part of real life and it helps to shape your life, we have to dissect it. So that is what this new project is. It's my new podcast. It's God's podcast. That's how best for me to say it. Because like I said, he's the one that tapped me on the shoulder and said, I want you to start talking now. I want you to take a big leap of faith and start doing this podcast because it's very important. I want you to talk to the people. I want a bond, a community of friendship to be built because there are so many people out there hurting, so many people feeling confused, lonely, desperate, anxious. And I want you to talk to them so they can hear me through you. And I'm very thankful that he tapped me on the shoulder to do that. Now, I want y'all to know that I have not named a title for this show yet. I know you're sitting here and you're like, I'm hearing about this project, but I have not heard a name. No, you have not heard a name because I was struggling with some names, prayed about names. My dad even gave me 2 names and I could not pick a name. But I stopped and I said, Lord, how do I handle this? And the show is for you guys. So he put it in my spirit to allow you guys to pick the title of the show, the title of this podcast. So I'm going to give you some names that came from my dad, from different conversations, and I want you guys to vote on the name. You will get to pick the name. There will be a poll at the end of this that you can take, and I want you to pick the names. And once you pick the name, whichever one is the most popular name, that will be the name of the new podcast. And I'm excited. I'm excited that y'all are going to pick this because, like I said, it's all about you. This is not about me. This is for you. So let me share some of the names that, again, came across. The first 2 names, like I said, came from my dad. Daddy, I love you. Thank you for the names. The first name is No Woman, No Lies. I know some people are like, is this all about women? Because I know some men will come through here. Let me tell you something. This show is for everyone. It's going to mainly speak to women because I am a woman. I know what it's like to be a mother for the first time. and have no idea what you're doing and feel like, am I doing this right? Am I good enough? I know what it's like to be a woman and be scared about giving birth. Like, what's going to happen? I know what it's like to be a woman and going into your 40s and you're like, wait, why is my body shifting like this? So yeah, I will talk to women a lot. But men, please understand, this is a good place for you to pull up a seat. Why? Because you're getting a chance to peek into, like, be a fly on the wall in these conversations. It will help you in your relationships with your spouse, relationships with your mom, sister, female friends. It will help you. But understand, I'm going to tap on the shoulder and have some of you men come up and have conversations because we want to know what you deal with. And I'm going to have some of my male friends come up here and have those conversations because I think it's very important that we get both points of views. And there will be no man bashing or woman bashing in this. We're just going to speak truth. Because for me, as I said before, it could all be so simple, but we rather make it hard. The Bible clearly points out to us that God created Adam and Eve, and they had a partnership. The two became one. So this is not about attacking one, saying, I don't need no man. I don't need. That's not what this show is about. We have enough of those out there. And that's why a lot of times we are currently in the situations that we're in. So understand that is what the basis. There will be men that will be on the show. There will be women. But I will mostly be speaking to women. So like I said, no woman, no lies. Catchy title. I like it. Then, of course, like I said, Adam gave Eve his rib. So from his ribs. Because again, this entire show will sit on a biblical foundation. I'm going to be talking about things that are relevant, that goes on today, that happens in real life, but always be from a biblical lens. Because when we have that biblical foundation, life makes so much more sense. You will not be walking around with spiritual blindness. Another name we have is faith, love, and a little chaos, because that's life. Let's just be real. That's life. There's faith, there's love, and a little chaos, because regardless, when you have God in your life, He never said there wouldn't be any storms. He said He would be with you and get you through the storms. That is something my grandmother always used to tell me. And it's a very true statement. So faith, love, and a little chaos. Then we have grace and grit, because we're out there on this grind. We are this world ain't easy, but thank you for God's grace, that unmerited favor that we all get. So again, grace and grit. Like I said, for me, this is going to be a time where we're really connecting. And what better time do people connect than when we're brunching? And this show will come on Tuesdays and Thursdays during lunch. So Bible brunch in real life, because we're going to be talking about real life. We're going to keep the foundation of the Bible. And this will be a time for us to have a kickback, a conversation. Like, we'll be hanging out together. So Bible brunch in real life. And last, there's talking saved and a little savage, because again, it's a biblical foundation. But mark my words, that little savage is what you would call, I'm always going to keep it real. No lies will be told here. Why? Because do you want friends that lie to you? Do you want a yes person around you? It doesn't matter what you're doing, where you're going, what you're wearing. And they're like, yes. So they're making you step out into this world looking like a whole entire fool, because all they want to do is be a yes person. Or do you want a real friend that would be like, girl, I don't know if you should be rocking that? Or do you want, girl, now you ain't supposed to be talking to that man. Like, leave him alone. Don't even tell me the story. We already know. We already know what he's like. So keep it moving. Now, you know you ain't supposed to be going there, girl. That's the type of friend I want. I want the friend that will tell me the truth, not the friend that will lie. So it'll be a little savage. I'm going to keep it real. That's what I do. Listen, you'll enjoy it. Truth hurts sometimes, but at least I'm telling you the truth. You'll love me for one day. So that is Talking Saved and a Little Savage. So those are the names. And like I said, I'm going to have a poll for you to choose. It's probably going to be in the community tab on YouTube and on Rumble. There will be a link for it in the description. But again, I want you all to vote and let me know what name you want for this new project. Lastly, well, second to last, I want you to know that this show, again, is all about you. So if there's topics that you want me to cover, please feel free to reach out and let me know. If you have prayer requests, please feel free to let me know. I will definitely pray over them. And you can always reach me here at crystalbeyondlabels.com. That's where you can email me. I will always connect with you. And don't worry, if you send me something that you want me to discuss, it will always remain anonymous unless you tell me that you want me to share it with everyone else. Like if you want me to include your name. Outside of that, it will always remain anonymous. So you can always reach me there. So that's it, y'all. That is the new show. I hope you feel my heart. You're connecting with me and understanding why this is such a passion for me. Because all I want to do is help as many people as I possibly can. And I am so thankful that God put that into my heart. Every show we will have a verse. And today's verse is, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. And that's what we're going to do on this journey. So, again, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We want to get this message out to as many people as possible. And again, I am excited. I finally got the best take of this recording because like I said, I really want this to get out to all of you and you can feel my spirit to all of you. So thank you for watching. Again, I will be on every Tuesday and Thursday at noon. And I'll see you next time here on Crystal Beyond Labels. Have a good one. Later.